there's a current idea floating around that our current inflation has really nothing to do with monetary factors, macroeconomics, energy prices, any of that. It's really just all corporate greed, like increased corporate profits, price gouging, that kind of stuff. What can you tell us about those dynamics, and is there any legitimacy to that claim?
I have a friend who's a French baker, and what does he do? He makes bread, right? And croissants and other things too. But if the price of wheat goes up 20%, he can look at what he sells and either say, I can't keep my lights on, or I pass through the increase in my input costs, which in this case would be wheat primarily, and I have to raise my prices by 20% just to maintain what I had as a healthy profit margin. Is it wrong for him to maintain a healthy profit margin? Well, if he doesn't, he's out of business. He can't pay rent. He can't maintain his business, right? So there's sort of the pass through. When you look at the difference between CPI and PPI, producer price index versus consumer price index, the PPI numbers have been higher than the CPI numbers. And so your producers, your manufacturers are dealing with radical increase in their input costs, which would be all the commodities and component parts and things that go into the stuff that they make. And the consumer actually is not seeing they're not bearing the full brunt of that. There's some sensitivity, manufacturers don't want to pass it all along because they're afraid of losing market share, but they have to pass on as much as possible to maintain a margin that allows them to stay in business. Is that gouging? Absolutely not. I think this is where you have far too many of those critics who have studied sociology and not economics. They've read Max Weber and Marx, but they haven't read Hayek and von Mises. They actually don't understand the functioning of a market and an economy, and are a little too idealistic. That has nothing to do with the baker making 20% more. It's literally the effort just to keep his lights on and not have things move against him such that he can't afford to pay people that work at the bakery. There comes a point where if you're not making money, you shut down. And that has a negative impact on the economy. It has negative impacts on employees and income and everything else. So it's a necessary move to move prices higher. That is not price gouging.